There's nothing saying a 20-year-old cannot be a great comics writer.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Seeing as how this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Network in Chicago, in which we talk about the happenings in the comics industry during the week and how they affect the way we run our business. I thought it only fair to start this week's episode with the most obvious topic, Taylor Swift.
Go on. She has a new single out.
Sure, I assume everyone does,
Yes.
right? So
Well,
does Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber. So does Katy Perry.
Right, but
I mean,
Taylor Swift is one of the people who has a new single out, and you specifically mentioned Taylor Swift.
I did, yes. Taylor Swift is, and I'm crediting her. I don't know if it's her people or her team, but I'm just going to say her to make it easier.
Okay.
Taylor Swift is a master at getting people excited for new things. Albums, concerts, tours, products.
Sure. She's a very popular artist.
But she does it in a way that I, as a Taylor Swift fan, don't interact with. She is amazing at dropping clues,
Okay.
dropping hints, getting people to speculate,
Sure.
getting people to connect the dots, using iconography, symbology, numerology, and then explaining it when it's all done, kind of like the old DC Future posters, where they'd have a bunch of characters on a poster.
Yeah.
It's like things are coming up with them.
Right, there'd be like a double-page spread you'd see in a bunch of different DC comics, and it would be characters doing weird things, and there'd be a significance to, oh, Green Arrow has this many broken arrows on the ground, which equates to whatever, or these two characters aren't facing each other because X, Y, and Z. Like, it's basically the old, like, Last Supper painting, but
Yeah.
for comic books, where it's all of these things mean something, how everyone's posed means something. And you're right, fans do like to speculate on that sort of stuff. Like,
Yeah,
everyone likes to have a pet theory. How many times were you irritated by going to a website for the first 5 months of the year, only to have, like, half the sidebars be someone's idiotic new Endgame theory based on what an actor said on a red carpet somewhere, or what someone thinks they saw in a trailer?
Yeah, and specifically going back to Taylor Swift, when it's all revealed
Yep.
and when all the dots are connected, I think that's neat. That's amazing. That's well done. Also, I don't care.
All I think for all of these things is that they are all basically drink your Ovaltine.
Sure.
That's
I mean,
it.
if that's what you're going to decode.
Yeah, it's always just, here's some new product you can get, or here's something that'll be out. Like, nothing's ever, oh my god, I would have never expected that. It's just, you are making me wait so long for another advertisement. That's all I ever think.
I mean, I like to think that there is payoff
Sure.
to it, but I am not invested in figuring it out.
Do you think
I
there's...
don't want to go through the effort.
Do you think there's like an age cutoff, or is it...
It very well could be. I'm sure when I was younger, this stuff mattered to me more.
Sure.
But knowing what it means doesn't get the album here any quicker.
No, that's true.
Or whatever it may be talking about. And more than that, I don't care about what you think it is. That's not true.
What someone's theory is?
I do care what you personally think about it.
Okay.
I don't care what the general public's theory is on a thing.
Yeah, one of the most obnoxious things to me is just the MCU pet theories people have, and it's just, none of it's interesting to me.
You know that I'm a big fan of experiencing the medium the way it's intended, and I don't like spoilers. I don't like things ruined. I want the story to be told to me the way the creators want to tell it. I don't jump to the end of the issue.
Sure.
I don't even like knowing that there's a spoiler or a big thing.
Yeah, okay, so I don't want to get off on a tangent here, and hopefully this is still topical. Do you think that nowadays the all of that additional stuff, the Instagram posts, the trailer, the press tour, is essentially part of the narrative now? Like, part of the experience of a movie? Like, I don't mean necessarily the story that's being told in the film, but the whole, like, going to a movie theater is part of the experience of seeing a movie. And that means getting popcorn or soda, there's trailers, the lights go down, you're in this big place. For a lot of people, seeing a movie means going to a movie theater. Like, Steven Spielberg would basically say, like, it's not a movie if you're watching it at home. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I wonder if nowadays, with the way that promotion works, that all of that speculation and build-up equates to for TV shows, there used to be that water cooler thing the week after where you'd watch an episode of Lost or something, and then you'd spend time speculating with people about what you saw and what you think will come next, and without that, the whole experience becomes lessened somehow.
Isn't it ironic that we live in the ultimate water cooler industry, yet we don't have a water cooler?
We don't anymore, that's true.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I guess the answer is twofold. A, sure. B, not for me.
Yeah, that's what I sort of figured.
I don't... It's the press junkets and the tours for these things have proven they don't work.
I suppose. I felt bad for all the X-Men actors that still had to do like stuff on different websites, or like, I think a week after X-Men Dark Phoenix bombed, there was like a sidebar thing on Tumblr where it's like, answer time with like Cyclops and Phoenix, and it's like, oh no, don't make them answer questions about this movie that bombed worse than any X-Men movie has ever bombed. But they had contractual obligations.
Right. And I just feel like it's expected, but we've seen plenty of interviews with people in the press room, and there's been movies about those kind of things where the actors sit in the room, the journalists come in 2-minute intervals, and they're asked the same questions 30 different times over the span of 4 hours.
Yeah.
Just so it could be, hey, this local person from this studio, or I'm sorry, this news studio got to ask it, as opposed to finding it somewhere else.
Yeah, and I always wonder, like, there's places that will try and, like, shake up the format and, like, ask goofy questions or something, just so it's not the same standard questions these actors have been asking again, or been asked again and again and again. And I just wonder if that stuff is received as, like, oh, this is a fun break from my routine, or I can't believe that I have to sit here and entertain a question on whether a hot dog is a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
Right, things like that.
This is dumber than just asking me about my job. This is just... Now I feel like some sort of performing animal instead of an actual artist who made a piece of art that they have to talk about.
But it's all about individual ratings. It's not like recently where the publisher of the New York Times had a piece that he sent to the Wall Street Journal specifically because like this like his subject matter superseded one individual newspaper. His point was this is for everyone, not just I'm putting it in my thing to get credit for me.
Right.
But I don't know. But anyway, all this is our way of jumping into...
Are you interviewing Taylor Swift for the next Contest of Challengers? Is that what this is?
No, it's just for my side podcast.
Oh, okay.
T Swift Nation. Do you not follow that?
I don't. I'm sorry. I will definitely subscribe after this.
Huh. Okay. Well,
How many episodes have you done?
One for every song.
How many episodes have you done?
If you have to ask,
I have to ask.
Maybe you shouldn't get to listen.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right, gatekeeper.
Anyway, look, it's not for you, old man.
Uh-huh.
We were talking in the store yesterday about an announcement that Marvel hadn't made yet.
Oh, my God, yes.
I mean, did you know that's where this was going from this whole...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because,
Right.
I mean,
Well,
when you're talking about how successful Taylor Swift is at using promotion to effectively market herself and her art, invariably we're going to have to talk about when a company doesn't do it well.
It's just that you did a good job of holding your disdain in until we got to it.
Sure.
Up until today, Marvel had been counting down on their social media with webbed numbers. Numbers formed out of a spider web.
Starting with 4, and each day counting down to a different number.
Now, this was not a thing that I had seen, and
So lucky.
I'm at a point now where, like, my engagement with this medium goes up and down, and I'm still paying attention to what retailers are saying about the job and the industry, and there's topics, or a topic we'll get to a little bit later.
But like the reader focused stuff, you tend not to pay attention.
Yeah,
to.
and I'm.
Do you go to any comics news websites, or do you just wait for stuff to get like reposted on Facebook?
No, I wait for you to tell me that there's something that I'll catch up on the beat.
Yeah, I usually the beat I hit pretty religiously. I'll occasionally hit comic book resources. But
Yeah,
I like them a lot less.
I watched you do it yesterday and say, God, I hate this website. Which
I do.
You say every time.
Well, so real quick sidebar. I hate comic book resources because they are, since they got bought a couple times ago, they have really focused themselves on the sort of listicle oriented, over advertised, BuzzFeed sort of model.
Right.
And I just find their site, the navigation of it, incredibly obnoxious, and the way that you'll occasionally make jokes about when you go to 411 Media
Yeah.
to read wrestling news, and it'll be a thing of like, what does such and such wrestler have to say about so and so? I like him.
Yeah.
That's
like,
it. That's the whole article, is like one quote, and like the headline is longer than the actual content. And comic book resources will do that kind of stuff, and they were front and center on this idiotic Spider-Man countdown story.
So it was counting down from 4, but as we alluded to before, 4, get it? Mm-hmm. As soon as the 4 went up, before it was established, it was a countdown.
Yeah, because all they had was an image of a spider's web that had the number 4 in it, and then a little spider, and then the only content was hashtag Marvel Comics. And this was on Marvel's official account. So speculation ran wild. And it focused on...
Yeah, I can't speak of this because
Sure.
I did not. All I know is what you told me.
Speculation ran wild. A lot of people obviously kind of getting out their decoder kits and trying to figure out what Marvel's trying to say with the number 4. And like Patrick said, it was not obvious yet that this was a countdown. So people jumped to 2 immediate, what would turn out to be ridiculous conclusions. So for 24 hours, it was either Marvel's going to announce a Spider-Man Fantastic Four series, because we were basically in the week before solicits would go out. Mm-hmm. So this is when Marvel's promoting a bunch of new titles, a new Black Panther series, a new Black Widow series, an Alpha Flight one-shot. Every day there was some announcement. So clearly, this countdown was going to end on Thursday, and that was the day that the solicits were going to go out, so it's going to be a big thing. So the first was Spider-Man Fantastic Four. The other one, which a few sites reported on, because it became a larger media story than just Marvel's going to do a new Spider-Man comic book, was the one that felt the most tenuous to me, and I could not believe so many people pushed their chips in on it. And that was Spider-Man 4, the unfilmed story by Sam Raimi, was going to get turned into a comic book. And it was based off of not only 4 and Spider-Man, so someone somewhere was like, oh, there was a Spider-Man movie that Sam Raimi was working on that never got made because he got fired or quit, I can't remember. So Marvel's going to turn that into a comic book. Which, first of all, I'm like, I don't think anyone would really care about that. How many years has it been since the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
We're 2 Spider-Mans after that. Who cares? But some of the evidence, in quotes, that people had was that C.B. Cebulski, Marvel's editor-in-chief, had posted something on Twitter where he'd said that it's been a few years since Star Wars #1 was published by Marvel and was a million-selling comic. They should have a million-selling comic again. Yeah, he thinks he knows which one, ellipsis. And someone somewhere was like, that was posted on the 17th anniversary of the release of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Well, you know what a big number in numerology 17th anniversary is.
17th anniversary. I was surprised.
I do believe the 17th anniversary gift is spiderwebs.
I was a little surprised that they didn't just keep extrapolating 17th anniversary. 1 and 7 is 8. Dr. Octopus is going to be the artist of the new, Jesus
But also
Christ,
at 17
whatever.
you can drive.
Right.
So it's
Speed Racer is going to be in
What's
it.
the name of the driver from the Superior Foes?
Overdrive?
Overdrive, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new Overdrive series.
Yep, he's going to be in it, along with the Lizard. Yep, going to happen. So obviously the next day there was another post, and it was a 3 in a spiderweb, and CB Cebulski started making jokes about it not being a Spider-Man movie thing and not being a Spider-Man Fantastic Four thing. But it was just, like, for 24 hours there, it felt like we lived in an even dumber version of the comics industry, where it's like, why are people reporting on this? Why are people speculating on this? Like, there's virtually no evidence. Where are you even getting this stuff from?
You can't get me less interested in a topic when it's a what does this mean speculative piece.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think it means. I'll care when I read it.
Yeah, there's a version of this in the Transformers toy collecting community where third-party companies will occasionally, very early in the design of a figure, release a black silhouette to get people excited, when literally all you can see is like the shape of a computer-designed model. And it's reached a point where fans hate that. Like, that's the sign that a company does not know what they're doing, if that's how they start their promotional cycle.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you've given me nothing. You have earned none of my excitement. And this Spider-Man thing was the same thing. So, day by day it would count down, and CB Cebulski would make some joke about, like, oh, tomorrow's 1, so it's, one more day or whatever, like, and somebody was in on Wednesday, and they were convinced that the final announcement was going to be about the return of Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane, like they were going to get remarried or something, and they were dead set on it. And it's like, you're just guessing. Like, you might as well say, oh, you know what the final one's going to be? Spider-Man's going to marry Batman.
But it was one.
Same thing. You're totally guessing.
Dal, like one more day.
Yeah, exactly. So they finally count down today that we're recording.
Wait, hold on. What were the guesses for 3 and 2?
I don't remember.
Okay.
At that point, I was more or less tuned out because it just, again, there's nothing there.
Be.
Each number, it's not like there was more information within the image. They didn't add in some stuff in the background. It was just a 3. Okay, I'll pay attention in 2 days when you actually announce it. And so they did. Today, on Thursday, they announced it. And the announcement was not anyone's guess that I saw anywhere on the internet, because you couldn't guess it from what they were giving you.
It is a brand new 5-issue Spider-Man miniseries entitled Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Written by J.J. Abrams and his 20-year-old son, Henry.
Henry Abrams and J.J. Abrams are doing a Spider-Man comic book featuring a brand new villain they've created called Cadaverous. It will be drawn by Sarah Pichelli, which is a really good thing.
Yeah.
Covers
by Olivier Coipel.
Yeah, or at least the
first one.
Yeah, one of, I'm sure, a billion covers that'll come out for the first one. And so 2 things. First, the 2 things I want to talk about with this are, 1, the promotional campaign and its effectiveness, and 2, the actual book itself. So, promotional campaign and its effectiveness. Was it better doing it this way when the end result was just going to be a book no one was going to guess anyway?
Yeah, it definitely got people talking and excited, but not excited for the book, excited to find out what the book was.
Right, and I guess that's what I wonder about the effectiveness. You talk about something like Taylor Swift's campaigns. When she's doing a countdown or something, it's always to, like, a song, an album, something you can actually enjoy and get excited about because you're already a Taylor Swift fan. But when Marvel's just like a Spider-Man thing, well, Jesus Christ, how many Spider-Man things have there been in 40 years, 50 years?
Yeah.
There's no limit to the number of people who have worked on Spider-Man.
16. No, 17.
So, something like this, like, the odds that it's going to be something that everybody who pays attention to Spider-Man is going to be excited about, I don't know if that was what ended up being. Like, even if it had been the Sam Raimi Spider-Man thing, I'm a Spider-Man fan and I wouldn't care about that.
But as far as the way they launched the announcement, do you think it would have been better to say, hey, on Thursday, we're going to tell you some huge Spider-Man news?
No, I think if they would have done something that would have indicated J.J. Abrams, like, you don't have to know the whole thing, but guessing that this is the creator who's going to be involved, I would think, A, selects out the people who will not care, so you get the people who are excited more excited, and then amplifies it. You don't run the risk of it being drink your Ovaltine. You don't run the risk of it being something where the big surprise at the end is something you don't care about.
What if the image was the bad robot in a spider web?
Something like that, I think, would have been great. I
Although,
think it would have gotten people excited.
That would legally they could do that because that's his company, but I'm sure there's
Well,
other people involved.
not
or whatever.
anymore.
No?
Warner Media, I think, bought it.
Oh, okay.
There was a bidding war the last few days.
Oh, like this just happened.
Yeah, like within the last, I think, 48 hours is when I was reading
Oh,
about
so he basically turns his back on movies and thinks, I can slum in the comics industry.
it. Yeah, exactly. Finally, he's living his dream. No, part of the deal is, like, Bad Robot is owned by, I think, Warner Media, but he can still work for other places and do other things. Like, they don't own J.J. Abrams. They own...
Oh, but what's the point of owning Bad Robot if you don't get J.J. Abrams?
Well, I guess you get
I guess
both.
it's like,
Like, you
owning
don't get-
Lucasfilm without getting Lucas.
Well, you don't get him exclusively, and that was the best thing Disney did, was not
That's
buy
true.
Lucasfilm. Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I'm sure you can go to plenty of places like Variety or Deadline to get all the details on exactly who owns what and why. But I guess the two main things that Warner Media owns is, I guess, whatever TV stuff Bad Robot owns. So they might get, like, Alias or whatever if they didn't already have it. They might. I
for
don't
their,
know.
I'm sure, upcoming streaming service.
But also they get the kind of idea generation factory, because Bad Robot's done a bunch of TV shows and shepherded a lot of things to film and to TV. So they get all that stuff.
Okay,
Anyway.
so going back to the Spider-Man announcement,
Yes.
my initial reaction was, okay.
Yeah, as a reader, fine. Like, I've read, I don't want to say vanity projects, because I don't want to immediately say that these two writers can't do comics. I will caution that very, very non-comics writers have been great out of the gate at comics. Ta-Nehisi Coates is maybe like one of the only ones I can point to and go, that dude was great from like page one. And even he had some iffy stuff in his first arc as far as pacing goes. But I thought he understood superhero comics right away.
Well, I didn't know that J.J. Abrams worked in a comic book store.
Yeah, but I read a quote where it was also basically like,
But he's not a comic book
yeah,
fan.
this isn't a thing where like he's had ideas for superheroes for decades so much as like he'd been talking to Nick Lowe at Marvel, and like for 10 years it's been like, maybe we'll do something,
Well,
maybe
it was
there's
Nick
a project.
Lowe saying, hey, I want to do something with you,
Right.
not him coming in.
Right. And then it was basically J.J. Abrams talking to his son about Spider-Man that had them then go to Marvel and go, we have an idea for a story.
One of the things that scared me is the son said, like, it's a fresh new take on Spider-Man. Well,
Yeah, the cover is very much Spider-Man and Mary Jane. Looks like 100 other
I don't need a fresh new take. I honestly, like, good for them. It's going to get a lot of publicity.
Yeah, I mean, it's already getting covered by, and this is one of the reasons why Marvel would want to do it, it's covered by places that don't necessarily cover
Comics
superhero
news,
publishing
yeah.
news. Like, it's not a big deal unless it's J.J. Abrams, who's filmed a little piece with his son to say, hey, we're doing a Spider-Man comic starting in September.
But my immediate reaction is not even to order as many as we do for Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm real curious kind of what the reaction's going to be from people, from Spider-Man fans who shop at our store, but more people who don't read Spider-Man comics. Like, I don't know if this is going to be the, Dark Tower comic, Black Panther comic sort of thing where people who don't read comics are like, I got to go find a comic shop to go buy that book when it comes out. And if it is the case with that, where we just get a huge influx of people who got to read J.J. Abrams' Spider-Man comic, I'm really glad they're doing it as 5 issues, because 5 issues is basically when all those people who come into a comic shop for one writer completely check out.
You mean issue 2? Got it.
No, they completely check out by 5. They
Yeah.
start checking out around 2. So, like, basically, I feel like in my head, whatever I order for 1, whether it's a high number or a low number, issue 2 I'm going to order like 50%. And by issue 5, I'm going to be ordering about 20% of what I ordered for issue
Sure.
1, because so many people are going to, like, touristy. They're going to come in, they're
Yeah.
going to go, I heard J.J. Abrams did a Spider-Man comic, and they'll buy that one. Maybe they'll read it, maybe they won't, but they just want the curiosity of, oh, I heard J.J. Abrams did a Spider-Man comic.
I mean, I'm more than willing to do a sign-up sheet for non-club members.
Oh, sure.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, again, that's why I'm curious, like, if we'll see people coming in starting today or tomorrow or
Right.
Saturday.
And they'll want to come in and buy it, and we'll have to say, oh no, it comes out in September.
I don't think they'll want to buy it. I think they'll come in saying, I heard that there's going to be a Spider-Man comic.
Okay.
Yeah, if they come in at all, I don't think it's going to be like, I got to buy it because I heard it came out today. Like, it's not an Ed Piskor comic. Like, it's coming out later. Don't worry about it.
We already had 2 points where we had really good transitions, but we're not done with this topic yet.
True. Yeah, I mean, creatively, like I told you earlier, whenever I see, like, famous person outside of comics and their kid are doing a comic book, all I'm hearing is the kid is writing a comic book and the parent is saying, yes, I'll put my name on that.
Yep.
I don't mind the fact that Henry Abrams is 20 years old.
No.
Jim Shooter was younger than that when he was doing Legion of Superheroes, and that stuff is all-time classic. So there's nothing saying a 20-year-old cannot be a great comics writer. Tilly Walden, Noel Stevenson are all people who started very, very young, and their stuff won like 1 billion awards. So, yeah, maybe Henry Abrams has an awesome idea for a Spider-Man comic. I like Sarah Pichelli a lot. I like Spider-Man comics. So I'll give this a check out.
Sure.
I don't know if J.J. Abrams is the sort of creator where people will automatically go buy a comic book because his name is on it. Like, I don't know if he's that sort of transmedia superstar. Like, I think the project will be good. I think he's got taste and talent. I don't know if the people who like his other stuff, like, I don't know if Star Wars fans are going to be like, I got to read the J.J. Abrams Spider-Man comic.
I'm waiting for the lens flare jokes.
Yeah, right?
But here's the thing that I
so
read.
Who do you think Greg Grunberg is going to be playing in the Spider-Man comic? Is he going to letter it?
He'll be Jonah.
Okay, that's cool. They got to put him in it somewhere.
Yeah, he has to be.
Do you want this thing to succeed or not?
He's Willie Lumpkin. So a fellow retailer had said, this is even a bigger get than Joss writing Astonishing.
Incorrect.
And I completely disagree.
Oh my god. I'd love to be proven wrong on that, but holy shit do I think that is not right.
Joss Whedon writing Astonishing X-Men was huge for the comics industry.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Abrams, I don't know. Like, I don't get that feel off of him as a creator. Not a lot of people are still talking about Super 8, you know? Like, he's a guy that's good on a lot of properties. Like, I liked his first Star Trek movie.
Oh, good news. This is a property.
I liked his Star Wars movie, so him on Spider-Man, sure, okay. He's a guy that tends to get what people like out of a thing that he's working on and is able to give them that. And that's no small thing. But his original property sort of stuff, like, it's hard to say, like, Lost, because that was...
Damon Lindelof?
Yeah, it was other people that he was like, let me show you how to do this because I've done TV stuff. I can help you with this. And Alias, yeah, sure. So I guess
Cloverfield doesn't count, right? That wasn't really his.
Cloverfield, yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't that also one of
He produces so much stuff, it's really hard to say exactly, like, what is a J.J. Abrams thing versus what is a thing J.J. Abrams was
What
on.
about that World War II zombie thing?
Yeah, I mean, he produced
came
that.
out.
It was a Bad Robot joint. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's people who are J.J. Abrams lifers, who are like, literally anything that guy does, I gotta check it out. I'll be honest, I like his stuff, so I will, if it's something that's in a genre I enjoy, I'll probably give it a second look if he's one of the people involved in it.
Oh, I mean, I'm coming into this with a completely open mind, and I really want it to succeed. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that the audience is as big as Marvel and some retailers think it is. Again, love to be proven wrong. I will order as many copies as people want to buy.
Also, Marvel saying or hinting that this is a 1 million copy seller, there's no way.
Yeah,
I know it's going to have 50 covers now.
Yeah,
in order to do that.
I can't imagine this will be that. And somebody, I think, when they were kind of debunking the this is going to be a Sam Raimi movie comic and Marvel thinks it's going to sell 1 million copies, was pointing out, like, Star Wars sold 1 million copies because of stuff like Loot Crate and Disney Parks.
Yeah.
You know? And a ton of exclusive variant covers. I don't think a Spider-Man comic, unless it's by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, is going to do that well. Like, I just don't. And even the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko one, probably not. Probably not 1 million. In this market, no, I don't think 1 million copies.
Yeah, well, I mean, morbid curiosity about it, sure.
Sure. Well, I mean, certainly
Since they're both dead.
Yeah, the first new piece of work done by people from the afterlife. Sure. Theologians, I think, would probably want to get a few copies of that.
Did you see, I'm sure you did, the Christian group that demanded
Oh, I read about
Netflix cancel Good Omens?
Yeah, 20,000 people signed up for a petition to get Netflix to cancel Good Omens. Netflix doesn't own Good Omens. Amazon does.
Hilarious.
Uh-huh. Oh, people.
Well, since you said the number 20,000, I'm going to extrapolate out on that. And we got we get reviews all the time
We do.
on Google,
Yeah.
and Yelp, but mainly Google. In fact, right before this recording, we got a new review.
We did, yeah.
It was a 3-star review
Out of 5.
out of 5,
Uh-huh.
and it actually had a comment, which most reviews don't. It's just a
Yeah.
star rating. And this 3-star review said,
My kid liked the store.
"My kid loved this place."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
3 stars.
So 3 stars.
Uh-huh.
I guess he didn't, or they didn't like it.
I guess not.
Interesting. I always just scratch my head like, can you elaborate?
Yeah.
What-
This sounds
what do you-
good, but your
what-
stars make it sound not good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So weird. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
we'll get a monthly update from Google saying, hey, here's how many people looked at your page, or
Yes.
whatever. So we got an email earlier this week that specifically focuses on monthly photo views.
Yeah, we get that every month.
Yeah. And how many times our photos have been viewed on our Google page, our Google
Business
review.
listing.
Yeah.
It's and Yelp will do it occasionally as well, and it's largely to get us more involved in the platform, to get us posting more content, because it's all a cyclical thing. And I don't really feel that much energy to support Google's platform.
When we get an email from Yelp, it'll say, hey, you had 192 page views. I'm making these numbers up.
Right.
43 people called you from the internet. 18 people clicked a map. You know, things like that.
Sure.
And most of those numbers I look at and think, okay, I believe those.
Mhm.
And I don't remember exactly the Google number, but I have a rough estimate.
You can try and find it. If you want.
We got, yeah, all right. So we got an email that told us how many times in the last month our store photos have been viewed. Dal, what is that number?
For the month of May 2019, 37,847 times. How many times they were viewed?
37,000
The top
times.
performing photo with 287,091 views was a overall picture of the store from when you walk in.
Now, that number must be of all time, because clearly 200,000 is larger than 37,000.
I guess.
I
287,000 times.
find it unfathomable that 37,000 views happened in the span of the month.
A lot of bots on the internet.
I'll look at Google listings to find businesses or to find out about businesses, and I'll click on a picture or two, but oh my god, 37,000 times.
Seems like a lot.
I don't believe that.
Are you calling David P. Google a liar?
I am
He worked so hard on his
telling
website, and you are...
David P.
crapping all over
Google that his algorithms need adjusting. There has to be a different formula for calculations.
Look, he's one man, and he's working very hard on his website, okay? Cut him some slack.
I will, but 37,000 people. Cut to one single listener of ours right now, just hitting refresh
Uh-huh.
and jumping to every single
Okay.
photo every time. Yeah, and honestly, like, if we're getting 37,000 views in a month, I don't think we need to do anything else to get more traffic
Yeah, I guess not.
on that listing.
I
I don't mean
suppose
the store, in the store, obviously. But yeah, definitely to get more traffic from there. That's insane. I find it.
Yeah, those numbers are baffling.
Yeah. Ridiculous. However, it is interesting the way people do find information and come in looking for things, especially when that information is wrong.
Yeah, that's disappointing when it happens, especially when it's not information from us, it's information they found on the internet, but it's wrong information, so they come into the store and we have to go, no, we don't have that thing because the person who told you that was wrong, and then we have to do that multiple times on a Wednesday.
Or building up to it the Monday and Tuesday before, or Wednesday morning when club members email and say, hey, I'm not down for this book that comes out this week, but it's on my list. But it isn't on the list of books coming out this week. And usually, if it's not on the list of books coming out that week, that's because it's not coming out that week.
Yeah, although I would caution that there are times where something weird happens.
I said usually.
Right. So there was a time where somebody had emailed us to say, hey, I subscribed to Die Die Die. And I don't
Okay,
have that on my list.
Die 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 is a whole different situation.
It is, but I'm just saying there was an instance.
Right, and fine.
And
the
thank God for
exception that
person.
proves that rule, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how rare it is I can name the time it happened
Yeah.
where it was not a larger industry problem, and it was a smaller industry problem that was also partly our problem.
But other people's problems as well.
Yeah.
But it was caused by the
Yeah.
industry.
Just a real quick editor's note for that one. Die 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 was a book that Image solicited in a very bizarre way. A lot of retailers missed ordering it. So when like issue 4 was coming out, suddenly we were told by a customer, hey, 4's coming out and I'm not getting it next week. And then we had to rush and reorder copies of it to make sure we had copies for people, and then adjust our numbers for 5 through 7
Yeah.
because we had missed ordering it because of how bizarrely it was solicited to retailers. But that was, like
Or
Patrick
not
said,
solicited being the case.
a very specific circumstance, and 99 times out of 100, if we don't have a book listed, it's because it is not coming out.
And I grant you that there are absolutely points where, and this doesn't seem to happen as much anymore, but a geographical split shipment where one coast gets a product first.
Yeah, and almost every time that's Dark Horse. I don't know what was going on, but for a period there were Dark Horse books that, like, West Coast would get 1 week, Midwest and East Coast would get another week.
Yeah.
So we'd have people saying, like, hey, I want this Buffy comic, and it's like, well, everyone else outside of California and Oregon is getting that next week.
This week, though, it was X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2,
Yeah.
which industry-wide doesn't come out until next week. Doesn't come out until the 26th.
Yeah, but it was weird because it was supposed to come out June 19th, and when we went to our distributor's website, they listed it as an in-stock item that was releasing on June 19th. But if we checked our order on it, we'd find a bunch of unfilled copies. Like, our entire initial order was not filling. So as far as we were concerned, Monday and Tuesday, it's like, well, I don't know why, but we are not getting it next week. We do have it on order. Hopefully we'll be getting it on the 26th. And then on the 19th, we got our invoice for the 26th and found out, yeah, we're getting it on the 26th.
It's just so weird, though, because when Grand Design Extinction number 1 came out, I don't remember the traffic being that high in the first day.
Yeah,
And these people that were coming in asking for it, I didn't recognize.
the one thing I liked about it was that I could pretty much spot someone who's going to come in and ask for Ed Pisker's X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2 because they all look like Ed Pisker.
I was going to say,
That
ball
was-
cap,
Yep.
sunglasses.
Yeah, or eyeglasses.
Head down.
Yep, ball cap, t-shirt. Yep, the whole thing was very like, oh, I loved your work on Hip Hop Family Tree. What can I do for you?
That being said, we actually do like Ed Pisker.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think all of Ed Pisker's fans dress like Ed Pisker, or does Ed Pisker dress like all of Ed Pisker's fans?
I think it's completely coincidental.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the second one, right?
I don't think it's a grand conspiracy.
Okay.
But it was just such a weird occurrence because we don't usually get that many people asking for a book on supposed release day unless there's some speculative reason for it.
Do you think Batman's dick was in X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2?
Every panel.
Yeah.
Every
That
panel.
would explain it then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, Rick Grimes dies on every page. And Naomi's in the end.
In her full costume.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And on the last panel, she says, I'm going to be in a movie. That's it. I ruined the end of X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2 for everybody. Sorry
Great.
about that.
Good work.
Spoiler warning.
Good job, Dal. Jeez.
Whoops.
Jeez. So last week, if you were in on Wednesday for most of the day, or
Was that the 12th or the 19th?
the 12th,
Okay.
or if you were in for a minute on the 13th, you might have seen what looked like, to the untrained eye, a new worker, a new colleague in the store.
Yes.
And
What did her name tag say? Just challengers?
Just challengers, yeah.
Okay.
And basically, a local junior high had approached us for a program they have where students in a specific educational curriculum go into the workforce for 3 days at the end of the school year as like their final project. And a friend of Gina Challenger had contacted Gina to say, hey, you work in a comic store. We've got somebody who really wants to work in a comic store. Can we do this? So Gina forwarded us the information, and it was basically what I said, where some eighth grader comes in to work 3 full 8-hour shifts, gets evaluated, learns a little bit about the workforce, and the industry that they're choosing. And then, they either give a presentation about it or they have to read their evaluation from the class. That's like the last thing they do before they go to high school. And we had said, yeah, sure, that's fine. I mean, we don't know that we have 3 days worth of work for somebody, but if it's somebody who's interested in working in a comic store or the comics industry, we could fill it with learning about that. And I figured there would be, for the enthusiastic young worker, there'd be enough to keep them busy. So we set it up, and Gina and Ashley changed their schedules because Gina wanted to be there on the Friday to work with this person because she felt personally involved in the whole process, and because they came to her to come to us. And we said yes, and then the young worker came in to meet us and have us fill out a pre-evaluation listing their times and what their responsibilities were going to be and things like that. And we talked about dress code and lunch breaks and things like that to keep so all the adults know that this 8th grader will be taken care of. And long story short, it was not the experience that we were hoping for it to be.
No.
Because it turns out that this young worker was not into comics.
Yeah.
And not a comics fan. And didn't really care about comics or superheroes or any of the associated characters.
But strangely, a hard worker.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the weird thing. Like, when they were in on Wednesday, like, the first task was, like, organize these comics in the back issue bins.
Yeah.
Did it way longer than I would have done it without needing a break.
Well, the first task was, hey, familiarize yourself with the store, walk around, see where things are, get a feel for it.
I don't really count that as a task.
I know, but also it's not a task because she was done with it in 30 seconds.
Sure.
Which I thought, if you're a comic fan, it takes you a lot longer, that kind of thing. But anyway, she had good questions. Like I told her to put aside all the books that she was unsure of the title, because if you don't know comics, and we're asking you to alphabetize them, a lot of storyline blurbs go above a title and you can't tell, or you don't know about adjectives.
As someone who is straightening all of the back issues from A to Z and is currently up to, I think, R. Yeah, that's absolutely true. There's so much stuff that was just like, oh, no, this was a storyline called, like, what was the Guardians of the Galaxy...
Black Mirror?
Was it Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff under B for Black Mirror, and it's like, no, this is a Cyclops issue.
Or Space Mirror or whatever.
Can't remember what it's called. Black Mirror doesn't sound right, because that was the Batman thing, and also an Arcade Fire album.
But that's what it was. It was it was
Okay.
some sort of... You looked into the Black Mirror.
Black Vortex.
Okay.
But it was a Black Mirror, yes. But yeah, like, there's stuff like that, where because of the way that Marvel branded it, really big Black Vortex, and then a little Cyclops, it got filed under B by somebody because they thought it was a book called Black Vortex, not a book called Cyclops. So yeah, that stuff can be needlessly confusing.
How difficult is it filing in DCB covers?
We don't have a lot of them.
Okay.
We only just recently started stocking them, and most of those sell out.
That's true.
I mean, we order them to sell out.
Well, it's too late for this question, but I'm still going to do it anyway because I can't help it. Are you having fun doing this?
Mm-hmm.
I said it that way because you're in the R's.
I know.
But see, since you didn't acknowledge it, I had to point it out. I know you're trying to get past it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to make it as awkward as possible.
Not for me.
So she would come up and like with the authority and say, is this under A or under T? Fine. Good question.
Yep.
May have taken up a lot of floor space doing it.
Did
like I gave her a chair.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you can use this chair, use this box to prop it open, blah, blah, blah. She just pulled everything out and spread it all over the floor.
Yeah, there was a point where I was kind of back there, and I was like, I don't want to get in the way of her process. But I'm looking at this and it's like, it's a Wednesday. This is like the most highly trafficked part of the store.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is kind of cutting off floor space a little bit. Not a lot, because it's more in front of like the pop vinyls.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't want this to be in people's way. Luckily, as it turned out, virtually no one came in that Wednesday to be in
the way.
Inconvenienced by her. So it didn't matter. Problem solved.
So I just said I gave her a chair to use.
Right.
And then I said she wanted to do most of it on the floor. On Friday, I found the chair.
Where was it?
crammed between the
The half-off spinner rack?
half-off spinner rack and the little wall by the door by the supplies.
Oh, interesting.
Folded up,
Hold it up.
but crammed
Okay.
in there. And I even brought her with me. I'm like, this is where the chair's coming from. Here's where the chair goes, and you're done.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's crammed over there. But it's a thing I didn't think about
Sure.
during the day. Long story short, she worked most of the day Wednesday, only a half day Thursday, and never showed up on Friday. And I was confused by that because I thought it was 3 full days, so I contacted the teacher that was talking to us about this, only to find out, no, it's supposed to be 3 full days, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is. It was an interesting experiment. It was not at all up to what we thought it was going to be. But is it ever really?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
things
the,
are always different.
that's
than
the
we
last
expect.
time I'm helping any children. That's it.
Okay, Ed Brisson.
Yeah.
Good work.
Forget it. They had their chance.
That's right. Just like we touched on last episode, we'll be doing a bar event on a Monday coming up sometime this summer. And when approached about it, I said, we've done bar events before. They're always terrible.
Yep.
They're never any good for us.
People
We
can't
never,
buy comics because they have drinks in their hands.
Yeah. It's never worth a while. But because of the person asking, fine, we'll do it. So we'll see. But we also, we talked a lot about events last episode.
Yes.
And I was almost going to say, let's continue with that and start the episode that way. But instead we did the cold open of just, already recording from
Yes.
the beginning.
Chatter.
Chatter, because recording from the beginning is what you do every single time. This upcoming weekend, from when this episode goes out, of course, as we mentioned before, we have both Leanna Kangas and Joe Carollo from She Said Destroy coming in to hang out for 4 hours
Wow.
on a Saturday from 12 to 4.
That's a lot of hours.
But what we have now is two new events to announce, and I'm going to do them out of order. One of them is another Saturday. It is Saturday, July 20th. It is for a brand new comic called Ashes. Ashes is basically the Devil's Hitman.
Neat.
It's a crime noir story with a little demon tinge to it, modern day.
Cool.
But no one will have heard of this because it's local guys who are producing it.
Okay.
And it's Archangelo, Archangelo. It's Arch, not Arch. Archangelo, who was, along with Tom Kelly, one of the most prolific contributors to the Challengers Assembled art blog
Neat.
for years.
Yeah.
And at our Doctor Who show, and probably Rick and Morty, I can't remember.
Cool.
So it's a book that he's been working on for a while, and this will be like the comic store launch for it.
Awesome.
So it'll be a book that you can't get anywhere else in any other comic stores yet,
Yes.
I assume, on Saturday, July 20th. That'll be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. They'll be there for this.
Okay.
But also, and this one is very exciting. They're all exciting. They're all
Sure.
exciting in different ways.
This one is equally exciting.
This one is equally exciting, but for a different crowd. This is for more of a family crowd. We are doing an event signing for the Teen Titans Raven graphic novel
Ooh.
that is part of DC Inc. And we're going to have both author Cami Garcia, who is a number one New York Times bestselling author and a USA Today bestselling co-author, Cami Garcia, and the artist Gabriel Piccolo, all for the Teen Titans Raven graphic novel, which comes out this very week
Oh, that's right.
of this podcast.
It is hopefully, yeah, I guess a few days after you hear this, probably you can go pick it up in stores.
Yeah.
Our store, even.
Yeah, and in fact, it was publication date was supposed to be July 2nd, but we'll have it. I guess that's part of the DC Inc. because comic stores get a little bit first.
Yeah, I think generally the hopeful thing for publishers who are prioritizing the direct market is that the Wednesday before it releases in bookstores is when it releases in comic shops. So
Yeah.
June 26th for comic shops, July 2nd the following Tuesday for bookstores.
So here's a quick synopsis of the book. When a tragic accident takes the life of 17-year-old Raven Roth's foster mom,
Wow.
I should have read this ahead of time.
Take two.
When a tragic accident takes the life of 17-year-old Raven Roth's foster mom and Raven's memory, she moves to New Orleans to recover and finish her senior year of high school. Starting over isn't easy. Raven remembers everyday stuff like how to solve math equations and make pasta, or if she's British, pasta. But she can't remember her favorite song or who she was before the accident. And when impossible things start happening, Raven begins to think it might be better not to know who she was before. But as she grows closer to her new friends, her foster sister Max, and Tommy Torres, a guy who accepts her for who she is now, Raven has to decide if she's ready to face what's buried in the past and the darkness building inside her. Quote on the back, Cami Garcia is Joss Whedon's talent sister. When it comes to supernatural suspense, Garcia is the Slayer. That is from Nancy Holder, New York Times bestselling author of Buffy, the Making of a Slayer, and the Wicked Saga. That explains why it was a Buffy quote.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes, we have both Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo coming in.
That's awesome.
And it's the DC Ink line, so it's YA.
YA, yeah.
So it's good.
Teens and adults should come on out for
Yeah,
it.
and it's this will be from 4 to 6 on a Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So that is Friday, July 12th.
Okay.
And they're coming, like, right from the airport, basically.
Okay.
So this is pretty exciting. You and I met Cami Garcia at an ALA luncheon a couple years ago. I was at her table. You were at a different table.
Yes.
I greatly enjoyed talking with her, and she brought up, like, her love of comics then. So, like, this is pretty great. And we talked about her last week as a writer of a new Harley Quinn series.
Yeah, that's right. She's doing Criminal Sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, so very exciting for both those events, but especially having
Have you decided yet if you're going to be going as Principal Trigon?
if you recall,
And I don't.
we gave that mask to Artie for his birthday.
You can get it back.
We could.
You got almost a month.
Samantha will be back from the Philippines then.
Uh-huh.
However, she has long blonde hair now, but she was Raven for our...
You don't want to reach out to your friend Robert and see if his kid wants to go as Raven?
Maybe. Yeah. If she still has that costume.
Sure. Could have a bunch of Ravens.
We could try. So yeah, there we go. We're not going to dwell on events because we're just announcing those. And
Those are good, though.
I was going to say these are exclusives, but honestly, these will be up on our site tomorrow. And this episode won't have been posted yet. So
Okay.
we broke the story here.
Yeah.
Just no one knows it.
This is a time capsule.
In fact, while this has been in discussion for a little while, the times were just decided upon earlier today. So this is a very topical point in the episode. It's just,
Absolutely.
it's going to sit in the can for a few days.
Yeah.
And if you like listening to podcasts about comic book retailers,
And I don't.
might I direct you toward the most recent off-panel David Harper's podcast, in which he interviews Jacob Sorelli from Kamikaze in Tel Aviv.
I like that now you know how to pronounce both Jacob's name and his store's name.
Uh-huh.
That's great.
Well, no, I always knew that it was Kamikaze, but I would forget and think it was there's
Kamikaze.
different stores of a similar name structure.
There are a bunch of stores in the world called Comic Kazi,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is Kamikaze.
Yeah.
But more so, as listeners know, when we do the Patreon list, because Jacob is a patron of this podcast, and we thank you for that, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
I never quite knew if there was a specific, more ethnic pronunciation of his name, and I would try different ones each time. But
You've tried them all,
I
which
have.
is great.
And it turns out it's Jacob.
Yeah, it's Jacob.
It's a fascinating look at the way a store from a different country is run, and there's a lot of similarities between what Kamikaze has to do to get American comics as what All Star Comics in Melbourne has to do. So it's interesting to see that. But it's also different because they get their comics from different places. But I found out this week that All Star also gets books from Giadis.
Oh, from the U.S.?
No, I think it's I'm not positive. I assumed it was
You mean like from... Okay. Oh,
an
wow.
international... Like,
Wow,
because Giadis
a
is international.
logistics firm, sure.
Yeah, but I mean literally that exact company.
Okay.
Which makes sense if Diamond is using them to
Yeah.
hub the world. But Jacob gets his books from Diamond in the U.S.
Okay, that's cool.
It's really interesting. I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed hearing about the scene in Israel, and if you want to check it out, you can. You can totally do that.
You're allowed? You're
yeah,
giving people
sure.
permission?
Sure.
This one time?
So
You're not going to be like those people who are like making other people feel bad for listening to other podcasts, the same way that comic stores will sometimes make people feel bad for going to other comic shops?
No.
Okay, good. I always find that so weird.
Yeah. So anyway, you referenced the Marvel Swiss that's coming out.
I did.
And we touched on a very few of them. One of the things that I think is misplaced is Marvel Comics 1001.
The second one shot?
Yeah, so they announced this big $10 1,000 issue 80-page story with 80 different writers and
For their
80
80th
different pencilers.
anniversary, and probably 80 covers that'll be produced for it.
Right. And then we find out that, it's not a one-shot. It's
Here's another one coming out the next month.
perhaps it's 2, perhaps it's more.
Who
I don't
knows?
know. Now, luckily, we found this out before we commit to numbers for number 1,000, because I think we'd do better with a 1,000 than we would do both of them. However, obviously, if you add 1,000, 1,001 together, sales will be bigger than one.
I guess.
But I think less people will want it, knowing that it's
So
not just a single $10 commitment.
this is the hiccup now, because we've been soliciting for it and drumming up sales based on the fact that it's a $10 one-shot issue, because that's what Marvel told us. And now they're saying it's 2 consecutive one-shot issues, which to
So
anyone
far-
with the brain would be like, well, that's a series now.
Yeah.
But Marvel always wants to have their cake and eat it too, so it's like, no, it's just 2 one-shots that are numbered in a sequence, which
And the story continues.
it makes my brain
Literally, the story continues.
melt a little bit every time I have to read stuff like that, where it is the most Orwellian doublespeak thing of just, it's not a series, it's sequential one-shots. Like, oh my god, that's a series, you guys! So, we've been signing people up for the one-shot issue of Marvel Comics 1000. Do we automatically sign people up for Marvel Comics 1001?
Oh, man, that's a
Do I
tough
have
shot.
to email all those people to go, by the way, do you want the next part of I don't know how many parts?
Yeah, exactly. If I don't know how many parts. And this one sounds like it's equally as large.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of great people involved. There's a ton of great names. It's basically everybody who's ever worked for Marvel that didn't work on issue 1000.
Yeah. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe because they took so much flack from like the non-diversity of their creators, they're like, all right, let's add more into this one.
Putting something like this seems so difficult.
Yeah,
that I
there's
can't
no way
imagine
that
they
it was
threw it together.
It's like the people that said Captain America #2 was done in a heartbeat to fix all the problems with the one.
Yeah, that's people who don't understand how long it takes to make a comic book.
Yeah.
You don't do that stuff overnight. Or like the people who are like, refilm Game of Thrones. Like, that's not how filming things works. That's never going to happen. Yeah, this is not... I don't think it has anything to do with people's complaints so much as it was just, well, let's just do more of these because we've got more people we can call and get to work on it.
And it definitely wasn't a series at the time because it wasn't in the system as a series. We had to do it as one-shots.
That isn't necessarily a Marvel thing so much as a Diamond
I know,
thing.
But I'm just
Diamond
using that as
frequently has a
ammunition.
problem understanding what's a series versus what's a one-shot.
Well, I'm sure if they're told ahead of time,
even still,
that helps.
there have been
in the
times
process.
where we've been like, hey, Diamond, why is this not a series code? And it's basically like someone in purchasing didn't know. All right.
This is the point of the month where the new previews is about to drop, and I'm still working on, like, basically, I'm working on the August orders, and this week we're going to find out all the new stuff for September.
Yeah.
So it's that weird overlap. Like, I want to get done by Tuesday, so I'm not looking at 2 previews simultaneously.
Right.
I don't know that I will.
Yeah.
I have the next few days busy, and I've only done Marvel and DC,
Yeah.
but it's only a couple more days worth of work to get this done.
Yeah.
Although it might be down to the wire. It might be down to the like Tuesday night or Wednesday night or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably still going to have to email out to people on Monday, but I can't really do anything about it, I don't think. Like, I don't know if I can put the order pack in with you working on the last one.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, I'll see what I can do, but
Yeah, obviously.
it's not going to be tonight.
No.
It's not going to be Saturday or Sunday.
Do what you can.
Tomorrow's up in the air. So, who knows?
Just put ones for everything.
Finished. 1,001s, you mean?
Finished.
No, Dal, I'm just going to put all of our club numbers,
Which are already done.
and then you can
Automatically.
fix all of the everything else in FOCs.
The rest of it sorted out in the
FOC.
dub.
Yeah. Sort out in the dub. That's what we'll do. Superman Year 1 thoughts?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I was not looking forward to it because I did not like some of the art I was seeing, and basically everything Frank Miller has done since 300, maybe, I haven't liked.
Including 300 or after 300?
Including 300?
Right.
So it's been a long time since I've been able to enjoy anything Frank Miller's done. Like, the version of Frank Miller that exists now is not the one I like a whole lot. So I was not looking forward to his version of Superman in 2019, nor was I looking forward to John Romita Jr.'s version of Superman that I'd seen in the preview images. So I was going to read it because I kind of have to. It's my job.
Sure.
But I wasn't looking forward to it. I did enjoy it, though. I will read issue 2 and 3. Like, now that I don't have to read it, I'm choosing to read it.
It's an incredible value. You get so much in it. It's a long book. It takes a while to read.
Yeah, and I don't even... Some of my least favorite stuff when you're doing a hero's origin is, what were they like as a kid? You know? How did Wolverine deal with being a 10-year-old? Is something I never cared about and never ever will. So a Superman comic where it's like, let's spend a lot of time with him on the farm. Let's spend a lot of time with him dating Lana Lang. Is like, this is not what I find that interesting. But Frank Miller has a real specific kind of narration that he uses. Frequently can be kind of clunky, but sometimes has a real poetry to it.
Yeah.
And I thought his Superman omniscient narration was pretty solid. Like, it evoked the kind of feelings that I want out of that kind of, like, Norman Rockwell bucolic Americana.
Sure, I'll give you that, except I thought there was too much of it for an infant.
Oh, I thought that was fine. I don't think he's supposed to be an infant then. I think he's supposed to be a toddler.
Okay.
Like, he ages him up a little bit. So it's... Yeah, I mean, you could argue that stuff isn't, like, one-to-one how a 2 or 3-year-old thinks. But I thought it was fine for the comic. Like, I enjoyed that part of it. And it's very indebted to, like, the 77 movie, I think. Or 78? Yeah. When did Superman come out? 78? 78, I think, right?
Sure.
Like that, you can almost hear the John Williams score in it. You know, like it's hitting those sort of buttons to the degree where it's like, oh, what year is this story taking place in? Like, is this supposed to be happening where a grown adult Superman is going to be in 2019, or is this like, it just feels like somewhere between like 1955 and 1965 is where all of the story is taking place for me. Which, as I mentioned to you on Wednesday, I'm fine with, because basically anytime Frank Miller tries to set a character's story after 9/11, I'm going to check out real fast. It's going to be incredibly problematic, and I'm going to get real angry at what he decides to do. So setting it far prior to that means that I don't have to worry about post 9/11 Superman, which, I mean, I breathed a huge sigh of relief when that happened.
And I compared it to It Follows in regards to, you don't know when it takes place. It could be now, it could be then.
Yeah. And maybe
it's just a time.
Maybe that's on purpose. Like, again, he's just trying to evoke a feeling, and Superman has that kind of, like, idealized American heartland that maybe never existed, but, like, is what you think about when you think about Superman. Like, it isn't a specific place or time so much as, like...
It is a place. It's a place in your heart.
It's a very, very white version of, like, a classic America. Like, it is the... I don't want to make this political, and I enjoyed the book, and I enjoyed how it made me feel, but it definitely felt like it was hitting a very specific conservative agenda kind of America. You know? Like, this is heartland America that people who are very wealthy in Congress talk about. Like, they've never lived there, they don't know those people, but they like bringing them up as, this is what America should be. And it has that subtext of, like, white, middle class, straight, cisgendered. Like, it's very, like, yeah, okay. And the Superman book is all of those things.
Yes,
it's nothing really outside of that.
Do you want Frank Miller's take on the other parts of that?
Right, and that's the thing. Like, there's a kind of version of, like, write what you know.
Sure.
You know, and there's a problem with that a lot of times, where when writing what you know means excluding other people's narratives. But the flip side of that is, deciding to write someone else's truth that you don't know can be horrible. And
more problematic than not including them.
Beyond problematic, it can be offensive. And keeping Frank Miller well away from those things, even if it means getting a very white bread version of America, is maybe the lesser of two evils as far as what this book could have been is concerned. I know that there are a few people who were maybe upset or concerned about the potential for the next issue being more military focused than you might expect a Superman comic to be, not to spoil anything, because as I had to tell a few people, this isn't a spoiling things kind of book.
Yeah.
Clark Kent enlists in the Navy. That's part of his I want to see the world thing, is this is how he can do it. And I kind of like that version of it, because
it makes sense he wouldn't go to the Air Force because he can already fly.
Right, duh. And it makes a kind of sense, like for people who are in a certain part of the country who lack certain kinds of resources, the way to get out of that is joining the military. There's people who have done that, and that's people who've spent decades, seeing the world through the military. I mean, you can argue a lot of other elements of the military, but that's one that historically has been kind of true. So the idea that, again, white bread, conservative Americana Superman decides, I'm going to join the military, I don't have a problem with that in this story. In this Frank Miller version of Superman's origin, fine. I think it's all just to do Lori Lamaris stuff. I definitely think we're going to be getting Lori Lamaris, Atlantis stuff in the second chapter. I think that's weirdly something Frank Miller wants to talk about.
Well, the cover is like him fighting a dragon or something.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a ton of, jingoistic, might makes right, American exceptionalism, military stuff. I see why people would be afraid of that because it's Frank Miller in 2019, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm not, but I could be wrong. But I don't think that's the story he's telling, necessarily. But yeah, I did like the book, despite any number of narrative pitfalls it could have fallen into. There was only one very specific Frank Miller thing that it's oh yeah, that's going to make people upset.
Yeah. Which we won't touch on. I was prepared to vehemently dislike this book, and I think that's why I'm so happy with it, is because, not so happy with it, I'm fine with it, because I thought I was going to hate it, and I didn't, and that makes me like it more.
Yeah, the faint praise version of this is, it could have been so much worse.
Yep.
I don't know if that's going to be a pull quote on the back of the hardcover, but if DC wants it, they can have it. Challengers Comics and Conversation co-owner W. Dale Bush, it could have been so much worse. I'll sign off on that.
And I'll sign off on this. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.
Hello.
Hello.
You like talking about comical books?
Oh, sure.
Are you going to say nice things about them?
Maybe it depends on comic books.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll all find out together.
Yeah.
Do we have a Raven in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. This entire pile is Zoom and ink.
Books that we won't ever read.
I'll read Dear Justice League.
Okay.
I'll read Superman of Smallville.
That was a lie.
I definitely won't read Swamp Kid. But I really appreciate them sending us all these
Yeah.
galleys.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they do it. I just don't want to read them. I don't care.
Well, we will because that's our job, Dal.
That's what you think.
Okay, that's my job. So I thought we'd skip the preamble, and we've been recording this whole time.
Cool.
Aha! There.
Oh my god, they got my honest opinion about something. Because I've been so diplomatic all these other times.
Right.
Where I've shied away from flaming companies, creators, characters,
Coworkers.
industries. Yep.
It's like that Slaughter song, Burning Bridges. Or no, that's a Vinnie Vincent Invasion song with
Can I-
Mark Slaughter singing.
Gonna have to edit that slaughter part out so you don't embarrass yourself.
I don't know that any of this is going to make it, to be honest.
That's fine.
I wanted to see how much of the sounds come through. What, the footsteps, the door knocking, the opening of the drawer to get the notebook out,
Interesting.
the placing of the pencil on the table.
Good deal.